Flosstube, and welcome back to Ros Clark Craft. It's been a bit quiet around here for a while now. Yes, so 2024 was not my greatest year. It was not my greatest year in any respect. Certainly not my greatest year in terms of floss tubing. Yeah, for a whole number of reasons, but including some health issues. 2025 more or less starting in the same way. I hasten to add nothing scary, nothing serious, just things that are a bit debilitating and frustrating. So I'm not making any promises about how frequently I will be filming at this point. It'll happen when it happens. I'm also not making any promises about how much of my content will be cross-stitch related. So definitely, this is my Flosstube channel. Welcome back. But it is always and has always been called Ros Clark Craft. I say that, I think it might have been called something else for a while. But anyway, it is called Ros Clark Craft and has been for a while. And you will see in a minute, a lot of what I am doing at the moment is not cross-stitch. I have been encouraged to see a number of channels consciously becoming much more multi-craft based. And that's a thing I really enjoy. I really enjoy seeing what other people are doing, whether or not it's a craft that I'm interested in. You know, there are some things I watch other people do and think, yeah, that's not for me. And there are some things that other people are doing and I've tried that and I know it's not for me. But then there are sometimes things people try and I think, yeah, no, I do love that. I should get back to that. Or I'd really like to try that. So either way, I hope you'll give it a go. Today's episode, there is some cross stitch, but it is in the minority, I will say that. I've got a good number of finished and fully finished objects of various kinds. I've got some works in progress, some vague plans, but you know, I'm not really in a state to commit myself to very much at all in terms of plans, so that'll be quite open. I will start with the cross stitch, I think, and then if that's the only thing you're interested in, you're most welcome to tune out and try something else. So I'm going to start with my finished cross stitch since I last saw you. Ta-da! So this is based on Hello from Liz Matthews' 4th day of Christmas. But as you will see, there are some changes. The changes are sort of twofold. Firstly, to de-Christmasify it a bit. So this basket here was holly. Pretty sure it was holly. And so I just made it other leaves and fruit. And there was also some holly, I think, up in this corner. And I took that out altogether because I wanted to change the words. This is going to go in my Song of Songs book that at the moment has got a front cover and a back cover, and this is going to be one of the pages for that. And when I saw the birds on this piece, I knew which quote I wanted to use from the Song of Songs. This is Song of Songs 2:12. The time of singing has come. So I charted that, but it's quite a lot to fit in this space, so it made it a lot easier to take out that holly. The other big change I made, I did not feel that I needed to stitch in the full background for that. I think it's still pretty clear that they're holding up a banner, and I have not done the background on that. I stitched it using Roxy Floss colours. So this was the Holiday Countdown 2023, stitched all in those colours, although not necessarily in the right places. This was the Salentine's Stitch Along from 2024, which I didn't order the kit for. I just got the chart and stitched that up using some of the Holiday Countdown colours, and this similarly using some of the Holiday Countdown colours. Now I should say I did order some extras, so these are not all. Have I finished any of the skeins yet? I can't remember whether there's any that I've had to start on my backups, but there are definitely colours for which I have got backups. This was the first time I'd used this colour, which is the Baker's Block. I thought it was too dark and harsh for the others, but I thought actually it would work really well for the musical notes And then I also used it obviously in the lettering. So I'm really pleased with how that came out with all the changes. Now I'm looking at it, I'm just like, actually this bit seems a little bit empty compared to everything else. So maybe I'll just put in a couple more musical notes or something there just to fill out that little space. Yeah, I think I will. I mean, it'll take 3 seconds. Those notes are not time consuming to stitch. So I think I will maybe just do that. But that's basically a finish and I'm really pleased with that. I've picked out, by the way, the chart that I want to use for the next page that I stitch. I think probably I'm not going to stitch any of them into the book until I think I'm finished because I want to put them in order. But the next one I think I'm going to do is based on a design from Pigeon Coop and I can't remember the name of it. I'll put the name here and maybe a picture of it. And it's one with a sort of river flowing down and there's mountains and then there's a garden. And I think that will be really nice for chapter 4 of Song of Songs. I got it and I was like, maybe I'll do that now. And then I'm like, goodness me, that's really, it's more stitches even than this if you did the full coverage on this, which I didn't. So that is going to be quite a chunky one, but it'll be lovely. So that's my finished cross stitch. I've got 2 other pieces of cross stitch that I've been working on. The first is this one. Oops. Yeah, this way up. This is Dream of a Winter Garden, also by, I say also by, the previous one wasn't by, so by Modern Folk Embroidery. The Holiday Countdown and the Salentine's one that are on the book are Modern Folk Embroidery, but anyway, this is not for that. This is Dream of a Winter Garden. I started this, I think, in January 2024 and did very little and didn't pick it up again until this week. And I picked it up again this week, partly because I don't like having whips just languishing. And I really like this. And I'm stitching it, pretty sure it's 40 count Zweigart Platinum using a Veriswa 103. So it's really lovely to stitch. And I'm just using 1 strand of those. Let's see if I'll, there we go. Focus in a little bit. There we go. So I think that's coming out really nicely. And Sew Me Sarah and Stitchy Sally decided to do this as a New Year's start. So mine obviously wasn't a start, but they were both like, yeah, join in anyway on the stitch along. So I'm like, okay, that's good motivation. So I have got this out. I have put in some stitches. I've got across the other end. So this is the full width of the thing. And so I'm going to try and finish the top banner first, maybe this week, maybe we'll see, and then move down and do the other sections of it. It is really lovely. It's a very classic kind of Jacob stitch. It's very geometric. It's very lovely. I'm doing the colours slightly differently. I mean, you know, still me doing the colours slightly differently. Who would have thought? I've got a set of Veriswa 103s in the right sort of colours that I want to use, and I'm just sort of picking as I go how I'm going to deploy them within the chart. I just wanted to say, actually, I've heard a number of floss tubers talking about 103s and sometimes calling them 100.3 or 100/3 or, you know, not quite, or 1003. It is 103. That is how you say it. And it's not specific to a Veriswa. That's the company, that's the brand. It's their 103 thread, in the same way that you get DMC 6-stranded cotton, but you also get Anchor 6-stranded cotton, Cosmo 6-stranded cotton, CXC 6, you know, and you know what they're talking about. They're talking about a specific kind of thread which they've dyed with their colours. And 103 is the kind of thread which a Veriswa are dyeing. And 103, it's a term from spinning. So I used to do some spinning. I mean, you know, I still have my spinning wheel and fleece, and one day I might do some more. The 3 tells you it is a 3-ply thread. That is not to say it's stranded. You're not supposed to untwist those, but it is made of 3 strands plied together. And a 3-ply thread is very evenly rounded all the way along. A 2-ply thread, a little bit bumpy, but a 3-ply thread has a very nice even strand to it. And the 100 I can't remember precisely the units for it, but it's basically, it's like 100 yards of this thread will weigh an ounce, maybe something like that. Or maybe it's 100 feet of it. I can't quite remember the specific things, but anyway, it's a way of telling you how much the thing weighs. So it's made out of a 3-ply, that is its structure, and the 100 tells you its weight. So it is 103 is how you would say it, and you don't need to put in any punctuation. Anyway, there's a little lesson on the hand. And swat, because it's made of silk, obviously. Swat being the French for silk. So that is Dream of a Winter Garden. I'm hoping to, you know, make some more progress on that, really. That's my main stitch at the moment. And then I have one more thing which I've been cross stitching, which kind of leads into most of what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So I'll show it to you first, and then I'll explain what it is. Can you guess? Can you tell? Wonder Woman! I've been singing that a lot in the last 2 days. In my version, and this is because I'm not good at singing or music, it always then turns into the old Bodyform advert song, which I'm not going to sing for you. Anyway, so this is a little kit, and essentially, partly because I've not been feeling very well and haven't had a lot of energy, and I've not had a lot of mental energy, I have found that kits are really working well for me at the moment. Kits of all sorts of kinds, and I'll talk to you more about that in a minute, but something where somebody else has done the work of gathering the supplies, putting it all together, designing the pattern, telling you what stitches to do and how to do it, and whatever. And almost everything I've done, I sort of own like all the materials and tools, more or less. Not entirely, but almost. And I could have done that, but the thought of going through all of my stash, finding things, making decisions, what do I want to make, was just too much. And so I've been doing a lot of kits. Anyway, I haven't really been doing cross-stitch kits, but I was in Hobbycraft a couple of days ago. Somebody had given me a very nice Hobbycraft voucher for Christmas, so I was looking to see how I could spend that, and I had a very enjoyable hour spending that. But because I'd been thinking about kits, I did have a look and see what sort of cross-stitch kits they had, and the one that I was really drawn to was this Wonder Woman. So this was £3. It is an official DC kit. It says difficulty 1 out of 5. I think that's not really true, to be honest. I think it's harder than that. So I don't quite know. I assume it's the DC is the maker. It's produced in China, but it does say it's designed in Dorset. Who knows? It's 100% cotton 14 count white Aida, 100% polyester thread, designed to fit in a 3x3 aperture card, but the card not included. So you get the thread, the Aida, the chart. You got a needle as well. It doesn't say what size the needle is, but it's pretty chunky. I would say 22, 20 tapestry needle, which is not the best needle for stitching this, because this is full of fractional stitches. Half stitches, quarter stitches, 3/4 stitches. Interestingly, on the sort of logo bit, those are all full crosses. But on the words and the stars, it is full of fractional stitches, which is not ideal on Aida, and it's really not ideal on Aida with a big chunky blunt needle. I have been persevering because I wanted to see how it works as a kit. I'm slightly tempted when I'm done to take the chart and some better colours and stitch it again on something else. It's weird, I don't really know why these colours were chosen. The pattern picture on the box makes it look like this is really proper red, and it's really not. It's a sort of coral at best, and there are 3 shades of pink, including that coral. And I would have really liked, actually, to have some gold for the Wonder Woman. 2 shades of gold, I think, would have been quite nice for the logo, given that that's the colour the logo comes in. And then like a proper red for the Wonder Woman. and maybe a proper blue for that bit. This is quite aqua, and this is orange. So the colours are quite weird. Stitching with the polyester has been fine. Yeah, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's not been difficult to work with. The needle has not been great. The Ada is, as you'd expect, cheapy, crunch, crunch, that sort of thing. And like I say, the back stitches, the fractional stitch has been a nightmare. There's a lot of back stitching, as you can see. I have yet to do any of that, and I might let myself use a different needle for that. So essentially I found myself thinking, is it worth £3? And I'm like, actually, I think it is, just about. I think £3 just for the chart, to be honest. I think the Ada is not worth anything. The threads are worth nothing. The needle, I mean, it's a perfectly fine needle, but not for this. But I do think the chart is quite fun, although it's a lot of fractional stitching. So, I mean, it's £3. I don't feel like I've been had. But I don't think whoever designed this endorsed it. I don't know if they're a stitcher or not. If I were going to design that, I would have done it quite differently. Anyway, just to say, there is a whole little range of DC cross-stitch mini kits available in Hobbycraft for not very much money at the moment, if you're interested. And I mean, it's taken longer than I expected because of all the fractional stitches. I was like, oh, it'll be an evening stitching, and that's sort of 2 sessions of stitching so far. I've nearly finished with this, so then the stars won't take very long, but the Wonder, I'm slightly gritting my teeth for Wonder Woman. Right, that is all the cross stitching. So if that's all you're interested in, hi, bye. Thanks for coming along in 2025. Hope to see you again at some point along the road. If you haven't already, do subscribe and click the notification bell, because my posting is so erratic these days and the YouTube algorithm's not 100% reliable. So if you want to know when I do post, notification, subscribe, best way forward. I am also over on Instagram as Ros Clark Craft. If you're interested and follow me over there, I do post much more often. There's a fair amount of cute pictures of my cute dog, but it is also mainly stitching. So do that. And I will also post about my YouTubes over there as well. So that's another way of keeping track when I am posting. Right. So let's carry on with the kits. I have got a couple of other things I wanted to show you, talk to you about, finished things and work in progress that are not kits, but they are also not cross stitching. So I'm going to do the rest of the kits next. I have been wondering if anybody would be interested in sort of review videos of the kits. I could do that. I have quite a lot that I could say about them. I'm going to not try and do all of that in this video because it could be here forever and then I'll never be able to upload it, and then who knows when we'll get to see it. So at the moment, I think what I'm just going to do is show you my things that I've done, where you can get them, what sort of thing it is, but I'm not going to do a full-on review. I have views on who the kits are suitable for, the quality and thoroughness of what's provided, the quality and thoroughness of the instructions, all that sort of thing. So I definitely feel like I could do reviews of these, but I'm just at this point going to just show you essentially what I've made. So the first thing is this, and it's a little needle book with a little pocket in. In fact, I normally have a pair of scissors in there that I've stolen to use on something else, but it does fit. I've got a really nice pair of red Kelmscott scissors that fit beautifully in here. So I made this a bit smaller than, just a bit shorter than the one on the original pattern, because I didn't think I needed it any bigger. And I also, it comes with a pattern for a button closure, which I haven't done, and at some point I may even get round to what I planned, which is just to put a little bit of Velcro inside to hold it closed. Anyway, so it is a needle book. This is paper pieced Liberty print, tiny, I think these are 1/2 inch hexagons. They send you all the Liberty print fabric. They also send you this white cotton for the background and for the inside. They send you enough of this beautiful red and turquoise print with the birds on it to use for the binding. I also was able to fussy cut it to have the birds featured on there. Yeah, they give you instructions for making the book up using a machine, but I decided to hand sew it all, and that's turned out fine. They give you the felt for the little needle book bit. I've just got at the moment a packet of needles in there. I haven't yet put any in the actual thing, but really nice, small, sweet, easy to put within a project bag to keep your needles and your scissors and, you know, anything else you want in there. You could put these little strips here, also perfect for if you want to take some little clips, you can just clip them on there. So really nice, really practical, really enjoyed stitching that. There we go. Sorry, did I say that was from Alice Caroline? Alice Caroline specialise in Liberty print and paper piecing patchwork. I will put the links to these below. I haven't got, by the way, all of the kits because I didn't know whether I was going to do Flosstube or not, so I haven't been saving them. I will try and remember before I show you each one to show you a picture of what the actual kit in its packaging looks like, but it will probably be from the website rather than in person. So that was paper piecing. This was quite different. This is from a company who Facebook have been advertising at me for literally years. This is Wattle and Loop, and this was their fig kit. So Wattle and Loop are an Australian company. I didn't realise that until after I'd ordered it, but I ordered it on Christmas Eve and it arrived on New Year's Eve, which I think is pretty impressive, given that it was coming from Australia and given the number of bank holidays in that week. So this is, what would I describe it as? I would say it's sort of textile collage. So you get the backing fabric, this sort of mustard coloured fabric, and then you get a pile of scraps. Now, there's a big thing on the website, and you get sent a thing about how she sources the scraps, and they're from, you know, old garments or worn things, and you might get bits with rips or stains. Everything I got looked brand new. It may not have all been brand new, but it looked brand new. I didn't get anything with stains or tears or holes in it at all. And I mean, that's okay, but it just didn't quite match what I thought I was expecting. Obviously, you get things that are in the right sort of colour palette for the design you're doing. Although I would say, I think the inside of a fig, to me, is much more pinky red. And a lot more of the fabrics were a bit more sort of orangey, corally red. So the colours of that didn't quite work brilliantly for me. And then the instructions, you get a template for the shapes and instructions for sort of how you do the process. There's a lot of frayed edges in this. I don't know how well you can see that. Yeah, you know, frayed edges that you sort of layer on, and then different ways of stitching them on, and adding texture with stitching. So there's some pistol stitches I put in this one. There's quite a few French knots. There's straight stitches I added. I don't think it was in the design, but I added these straight lines for shading underneath where they sit, and I think that worked quite well. I added in some extra things. This bit that's shining, this was a bit of a ribbon on a box of bath products that I'd been given for Christmas, and it was this dark purple with little metallic bits in, and I quite like the extra texture that's added to it. So it was fun. I don't feel like my finished product quite lived up to my hopes for it. It's fine. I've had it on the wall. I'm happy to have it on the wall. I don't think it's a thing that I'm going to love forever. But I would say, if you've never tried this sort of stitching before, this sort of collage and applique and free form, and, you know, let the raw edges shine, it's a fun way to try it. The kit was not massively expensive. The instructions are not hugely detailed, but they do encourage you to really go for it. The Alice Caroline instructions are very, very authoritative. You do it like this and you end up with their product. I broke some of the rules, but you know, they tell you precisely how to make precisely the thing on the front of their kit, whereas this is much more, this is the sort of way you go about it and the sort of recipe for doing it, but please, you know, go for it, play, add your own fabrics, use your own stitches, do whatever you want with it to make it yours. So if you need to be given that sort of freedom, then maybe one of these sort of kits might suit you. I'm trying not to review it, but anyway. So I enjoyed it anyway. It didn't take hugely long. I did enjoy it. I really liked all of these kits. I've done hand stitch only, so I can sit and do them in front of the telly, which has been about my level of thing. And I do think with this, one of the things that's really nice about it is you can't really go wrong. If you feel like you've got a bit in the wrong place, you can just cover it up. You don't have to go back. You can always go forward. You can always add. It's very much a more is more kind of craft, and I like that. So that's wattle and loop. Right, this one, it's sort of fully finished, but not really. So this was from Hawthorne Handmade. They have kits for a range of different crafts. I can't remember, I think they might have some cross stitch in there. They certainly have needle punch, but I chose an embroidery. Today I choose joy. And so what you get, and let me just see if I can show you a little bit closer. This pattern is printed on the fabric. So on the Today, for example, I don't know how well this shows, I have outlined it. I've done a back stitch outline, but the blue on the inside is printed. And the same with the other letters. The Joy was also printed, although that is entirely stitched, so you don't see the printing. Similarly with these, the printing is covered up, and then here you stitch to embellish the printing. What I really liked about this, hold please, there we go. What I really liked about the Hawthorne Handmade kit is it comes with this guide to embroidery, and this is, it's quite big, 20-page book introducing a whole range of embroidery stitches. So I'm just going to show you, this is the introduction page, the index here. So you can see all of these different stitches. You don't use all of those stitches in this kit. In this kit you used 6 different stitches, pretty simple ones. This is one of their really beginner kits, but you get instructions for 15, 16 stitches. So I think this is really brilliant, actually. And I do think that makes this definitely a beginner kit, that you get this. Yeah, oh, it says on the front 20 stitches. There we go. It's a little bit complicated, therefore, I'm trying not to do the whole review. A little bit complicated, sort of translating from this to your piece. But I think this is a brilliant resource to have. It shows you how to add beads. There are no beads on mine, but it shows you how to do that. It shows you how to finish your hoop at the end. So I just think that's a really, you know, how to put the thing in your hoop, how to strand your floss, how to use a needle threader if you're using multiple strands. So, you know, really interesting. Troubleshooting. What do I do if I've made a mistake? What do I do if my thread breaks? What do I do if my fabric's puckering? Hints and tips, you know, really a good little book. You can buy huge, great, expensive hardbacks on how to do embroidery, but to be honest, if you've got this, you'll be able to do, you know, 95% of any embroidery project at least, I think. So I thought that was a really excellent thing included in the kit. You also got the hoop and, like I say, the printed fabric, and it's DMC thread. It's, you know, they just give you what you need, but they do tell you it's DMC. I did enjoy doing this. I found I'm not really a beginner embroiderer, and I did find some of their choices of stitches a little bit bewildering. And so in the end, for Joy in particular, I just changed it. So I've done this with stem stitch. They had used brick stitch, which I thought was an odd choice for such a swirly whirly thing. I would use brick stitch, usually something much more rectangular, geometric. French knots. these sort of open crosses. I chose to add in these lines, adding a bit more definition. The main issue that I did have with this, that I will just show you, I don't think the colours on the front, like this is clearly pink, and this is really orangey coral on the word choose. It's just not the same. And I like the pink better than I like this. Like this middle row in the rainbow, sort of lilac-y, lavendery colour. Pink. So yeah, I think whether you'd bought this in line or in a shop, I bought it online, but even if you bought that in a shop, if you thought you were going to get something in those colours, you're not. And that was a bit frustrating. But it was nice. I enjoyed stitching it. I need to just finish off. I need to follow the instructions and finish my hoop. But I'm sort of hanging it just by where I sit on the sofa, so I will see it every day and remind myself, today I choose joy. So that's sort of embroidery. I said there were only a handful of stitches. There's back stitch. I did the stem stitch, but you could have done the brick stitch. A little bit of satin stitch, cross stitch, straight stitch, French knot. So not complicated, definitely beginner friendly piece. The only thing I would say that was a little bit tricky, the hoop that they send you is the hoop that it's designed to be displayed in, and that does just mean some of your stitching is really right on the edge of your wooden hoop, and that is not ideal. But you know, you can work around it enough. So that's Today I Choose Joy, keeping going. Now, I think I might have shown you at least the beginning of this before. This is a kit from Corinne Lapierre. Can't remember what it's called, but it's felt applique. So Corinne Lapierre works mainly in felt. She has one or two kits that are embroidery on woven fabric, but mainly felt. And a lot of it is three-dimensional felt animals or felt ornaments or whatever. But she does have some like this, where you are appliquing the felt and embroidering onto felt. And it's really lovely to work with. Really lovely to work with. The felt is just so tactile and so forgiving, and your embroidery always looks better than it really is on here. So you can see these French knots are embroidered, these sort of bluish leaves are directly embroidered, and then you've embroidered, these aren't appliqued round, they're just embroidered onto. The bird pieces, the large pieces, are appliqued properly and then embroidered onto. You stitch chain stitch for these leaves, but it's all explained, and yeah, the colours are beautiful, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is another one that I bought quite a long time ago, and I did start it, but then it just sort of sat in the drawer, and I was really pleased to get it out and finish it and have it hanging up, pretending that it's springtime here. So that's my felt embroidery. Moving on, this is the last, is this? No, not quite the last kit, almost, this is the last one I've finished. So this is from the Crafty Kit Company. Excuse me. The Crafty Kit Company, and it's a needle felting kit. And I'd actually bought this one intending to give it to somebody else, and then I found something better that I wanted to give them. So it'd been sort of sitting in my present box, actually, for ages, and then I got it out. It's like, you know, I might as well do it at this point. I have done needle felting before. I don't love it. I do prefer wet felting, but wet felting is quite a big faff to, you know, clear your whole space and whatever. Needle felting is a very good thing. Basically, you're stabbing things hard, and if you're in a stabby mood, it's an excellent thing to do. So with this, you got the blue background felt, you get fleece, so wool fibre from sheep that's been washed and carded, and so it's all nice and soft. I think, I don't know, I kind of wanted to say these are wools in their natural colour from different breeds of sheep, but I could be wrong, and it could be dyed. This sort of light colour one that's sort of on his forehead and chest and paws is a mottled one, and that sort of makes me think it's naturally that way, but I could be wrong. It could be two carded together, and so I'm not quite sure. It might all be merino, but I think it's probably other fibres. It didn't say. And so yeah, you just lay the fibres down. There's a template. It's like you can do one otter or two. And well, obviously I'm doing two. The whole cute thing about otters is how they hold hands. It's not the only cute thing, but it is a very cute thing about it. So you draw it on. You can draw on the template for all of these bits, but by the time you get to do those bits, your drawing will be entirely hidden. So you kind of have to do that. Yeah, and it just shows you build up layer by layer, colour by colour. I think the thing that was a little bit frustrating, you got to the end and it was just like, and now add some facial features. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. Those little tiny bits for the eyes and nose and mouth, I found the hardest of the whole thing. And I did definitely take them out and redo them 2 or 3 times at least. And that is the lovely thing about needle felting, is you really can just, like, even now if I wanted to, I could probably rip the whole thing off and start again. Obviously, you know, it leaves a little bit of a ghost when you rip it all off, but nonetheless you can use it all again and you can do it. So it was fun doing it. I don't love needle felting, like I say, it's not my favourite thing, and I'm not sure I'll hang this on the wall because it's a bit dark and brown and miserable for me, so I'm not quite sure what I will do with it. But, you know, I enjoyed it. It didn't take hugely long, and that's my needle felting kit. Finally, this is an in progress. So when I was in Hobbycraft, I didn't just buy the mini cross-stitch Wonder Woman kit. I also wanted to try a painting by numbers kit. So this is the one that I am working on. In Hobbycraft, they sell 2 brands. They sell some from the Royal Horticultural Society, which were £15, and they had 1 or 2 really nice ones that I thought about. And then they had the Hobbycraft own brand ones, which are normally £10.50 but are currently half price. So I paid just over £5 for this. It's quite a good size. I think the other one, the other thing about the RHS ones is they're bigger, and I just thought actually even this is big enough. You know, it's quite detailed. If I can show you, yeah, it's quite faint, but hopefully you can see. You know, it's quite detailed. You get 3 brushes. You get a flat brush and 2 round brushes, medium and small. They're both quite small, but medium and small. And then obviously you get this one's got 14 colours of paint in little pots. As you can see, I already managed to spill some on there. I think it'll be fine. I think it is. I thought it was acrylic, but now I wonder if it is acrylic gouache, because it's definitely drying quite matte. Whereas with acrylic paint, you'd expect it to dry a little bit shinier. It's not completely opaque. So one of the tricky things is making sure the numbers are all covered. And I have found doing multiple layers, at least 2 layers of the colour, gives the smoothest surface. Now, I haven't always wanted a smooth surface. So I don't know if you can see this green plant. Doesn't show brilliantly well, but yeah, hopefully you can see a bit there. That is all supposed to be one colour, and I just wanted it to have a little bit more life than that. So I used a little bit of this yellow to add a little bit of brightness, and this is a darker green, and I used a little bit of that to add a bit of shadow with it as well. I'm sort of half tempted, and maybe I'll wait I will wait till it's finished. Maybe to go in and add some black outline or some white outline, probably with Posca acrylic pens. We'll see. But as it is, I'm quite enjoying it. Yeah. I mean, as you see, I've still got a lot to go. But it's very soothing. Yeah, it's really fun. You don't have to make any decisions quite like that. So, what else have I been doing? Well, I've been doing 2 other things that I've got to show you, I think. Well, sort of 3. Let's start with what I've been doing in my art class. So we've just had a couple of meetings of art class so far this term, and this was the project from week 1. It's my owl. I love my owl. I haven't given a name yet. If you've got a good name for the owl, put that in the comments. Let me know what you think he should be called. So we were doing sort of wonky animals and funky animals, and I decided, because I'd just been doing the Alice Caroline paper piecing, I did him paper pieced, with the exception of these feathery bits, obviously, and then stitched him on. So this is a canvas bag from British Heart Foundation. It's not the easiest to stitch on. It's got a slightly plasticized lining, but you can stitch through it. So I pliqued him on, and then I decided I wanted a little bit more outline, so I just stitched on this sort of sketchy outline and some black thread and some extra texture on the feathers. And then I've got a thing, which I haven't got in front of me, a little pot of something which you paint onto fabric and it dries so that it's almost like a sort of PVC oilcloth kind of fabric. You have to be careful. If you put too much on, it just ends up looking really plasticky. But it does make it more hard wearing, and it sort of glues down the stitches, and yeah, the whole thing. Then if it gets a splash on it or whatever, it's wipeable. So I did that, and then I glued on his eyes. So that's owl number 1. And I thought he needed a little friend. Now you have to be kind to the little friend because he's had a horrible accident. This is the little friend. I know he's a bit shy, so you have to be nice to him. There we go. Yeah, he's lost an eye. I need to go and add another eye to him. But this was just using some scraps of the same fabric. Really simple. You can find patterns for this all over the internet. You take 2 triangles, one slightly smaller than the other one, sew them together, turn them inside out, and then you fold down the tip of that triangle to make the owl's beak. You put the eyes on, you can either sew them or glue them, and then you just you can stick a felt circle on the bottom. But actually what I did here, this has still got the paper inside. I used some watercolor paper and covered it with fabric and stitched that to the bottom. So this, but he's very shy because he's only got one eye, so I have to give him. So if you've got names for Big Owl and Little Owl, let me know. So that's what we've been doing in art class, Big Owl and Little Owl. And finally, I feel like there might have been other things I've been working on since I last did a Flosstube, but I have no idea what they are. I can't do remembering these days. But I have been doing this and I'm very, very excited. And if you're a long-term listener, viewer, whatever, you'll know why. I have been doing a little bit of knitting. Just a little bit. But this is the first knitting that I have done in nearly 3 years. It's not any easier than when I stopped. So I stopped because I have a long-term side effect of COVID that makes my left hand permanently feel like it's got pins and needles, and it particularly exacerbates it when I touch my fingertips to something. And obviously when you're knitting or crocheting, you're constantly rubbing your fingertips against something, and that's really one of the reasons why I have been doing a lot more cross stitch in the last few years, is because I can do that. I can hold that with my left hand, which is fine, and then all the manipulation I do with my right hand. But I just got to the point where I was like, I don't care anymore. I don't care if it hurts. I don't care if it's uncomfortable. I just want to be knitting again. So this is a pattern from Kate Davis. It's the Goth Mystery Shawl. I'll put a picture up here. It is huge. It is going to take forever, and I do not care. I'm just going to keep plodding away. I can do about 15-20 minutes at a time, and then I'm fed up. But that's okay. I can do 15-20 minutes at a time and just keep going for as long as I can bear it. And, you know, if it takes me 10 years to finish it, it's fine. It was so lovely to get out one. I didn't get out both, but I got out one of the huge boxes of yarn that's under my bed and ruffle through it. And there are 5 colours that you need for this shawl, and to pick out pretty colours and to wind some of it into balls and find the right needle and cast on. And yeah, and it just feels like coming home, really. I've been knitting since I was 7 or 8 years old, and I'm now 50. It's been a big hole in my life the last couple of years. So I don't know. I'm not at the point where I want to try garment knitting, because I just think by the time who knows how long it will take to finish, and by the time it's finished, will I even fit it, like it, want it? But a shawl like this, I love a garter stitch shawl. You know, I have garter stitch shawls. There's always room for more garter stitch shawls in lovely colours. So that's what I'm doing. And I don't know how much progress there will be to show on this month by month, week by week, whatever. But I'm not stopping. That's what I'm doing. So that's, I think, everything that I've got to show you. I've been sort of thinking vaguely about plans for this year, and I'm not really making plans. The one thing that I have thought I might do, my Gecko Rouge, my lovely Gecko Rouge, which I do enjoy stitching on, but I'm not good at picking up casually here and there because it's full coverage and it's quite hard work to get into. Once you're into it, I really enjoy it, but I can't just pick it up for half an hour in the evening every few weeks. It, you know, needs to be a bit more than that. So what I think I'm going to try, starting this coming week, is the first week of every month, I'm going to make Gecko Rouge week. So I can't remember what day of the week the first is. Might be Friday. So yeah, so Friday. So then next weekend, so there'll always be a weekend because it's, you know, I'm going to do a full 7 days. There'll always be a weekend. And particularly if the weekend's near the beginning of the week, which it will be for February, then that makes it easier to kind of carry on into the week and at least do an hour or two each evening, hopefully, and more at the weekends, and really start to see some progress build up on that. I'm you know, my initial deadline, is do you remember that thing? I think it was Douglas Adams once said, oh, I love a deadline. I love the sound they make as they whoosh past. And I'm like, yeah. My initial plan was that I started this on my 49th birthday and I wanted to have it finished while I was still 50. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Even if I stitched on it exclusively between now and my birthday, I don't think it would happen. So I've abandoned that and I'm free to just finish it when it gets finished. But I do want to make progress on it, not least because I think once that big project is finished, I'd really love to get back to A Saviour's Praise, but I just don't feel like I can have both of them on the go at once. They sort of they both need concentrated time, and I don't have capacity in me to do that for two projects at once. So one big project, smaller projects. I'd like to make good progress on Dream of Winter Garden. Hopefully I'll get the Wonder Woman finished pretty quickly. I've got the only other whip. Yeah, I think the only other whip that I've got actually is Tiny Modernist Spring Wreath, which I sort of set aside because it just wasn't spring, but it's going to be spring quite soon, hopefully. So I'd like to get that done as well. And then once I've done those two, Dream of Winter Garden and Spring Wreath, the world is my lobster. So watch this space. There are one or two other things that I've got in mind that I'd like to start. Situ Rach has started Plum Street Samplers, This Is the Day, and I've got that sitting. But I've also got, which I kitted up a year ago and have not started at all, the Artsy Housewife Pear Hill. The one that's a bit like Golden Delicious but pears, and I've got that kitted up in beautiful silks, so maybe that. So we'll see. There's no great urgency to decide. I'm not trying to hold myself to any timetables or deadlines or stitching plans. I just can't cope with that in my life at the moment. There may be more kits of different kinds. There's one that well, I've got 2 or 3, to be honest, in my basket on Etsy. And I'm kind of, maybe. But I think I just do need to wait a little bit and try and do some cross-stitching again. And then see, maybe I'll have another flurry. I've still got the paint by numbers. And I'm also doing some watercolour painting, supposedly every day. It's not really every day, but, you know, as a sort of general thing. That's a very process-based thing rather than a product thing. So I don't know if I'll ever show you because it doesn't really look like much. Yeah, so we'll see. And like I say, I don't know when I will film again, but I hope to. I really hope to. I really miss chatting to people. I really miss sharing the sort of stuff that I'm doing because, you know, I have 1 or 2 friends in real life who are slightly interested, but mostly, you know, it's you guys who are interested. So I do like to do that. And I have been watching, let me just tell you briefly, some of the people I've really been enjoying lately. Stitching and Tea with Bee. I'm sure lots of you will have come across her channel. She only started last summer, but just delightful, really calm and soothing. And okay, well, I will tell you a story since we're here. In her last episode, so she always talks about a particular tea that she's drinking and introduces it to you. And I really like that I appreciate that she's someone who understands the difference between tea and not tea. Even though sometimes what she drinks is not tea because it doesn't have tea in it. But anyway, last time she was showing a blend of tea that she described as a really flavourful Earl Grey, and it just sounded absolutely up my street. And it's from Disney. Anyway, a friend of mine's in Disney at the moment, in Florida, and I was like, if you happen to see any of this tea, would you get me some? Anyway, she's got it, so I'm not quite sure when she's back in the UK and when I will get to have it and try it, but that is all enabled by Bea from Stitching and Tea with Bea. Her stitching is lovely too, and I really enjoy the way she talks about it, so I've really really loved watching her. It's a real treat when one of her episodes comes up on my subscriptions. I always watch my lovely friends Sarah and Sally from Sew Me Sarah and Flossie Sews and Grows. Who else have I started watching recently that I was like, oh, more people need to know about this? I can't remember, because remembering's a thing that's quite hard at the moment. Maybe next time I'll try and make a list and share some more Flosstubers with you. But anyway, do go and watch Stitching and Tea with Bea, and if you do, say hi from me. I will see you next time. I hope you're all well, and don't forget to tell me what you think I should name Big Owl and Little Owl in your comment.